What's going on, YouTube? Florida Man Knives here with a hopefully quick video, relatively speaking, on the Spyderco PM2 Disassembly and aftermarket scale swap. I am going to be featuring some Bladeswelove scales, so this will also be an unboxing, I believe, on this channel. For these scales, I have looked at them myself, but I am very excited about this. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Of course, as you can see right there, I do have the KnifeJoy exclusive Paramilitary 2 with CPM 20 CV, and love these bright green G10 scales. I obviously will be losing those on the scale swap, but they are still in stock, so I don't know, we'll see what happens there, and perhaps I'll be able to edit certain portions of this video out, such as when I am unscrewing things, because that will be very time consuming. And one thing I do want to note, with this all being DLC coated hardware, I'm going to be a little bit more careful than usual because I do not want to scratch the DLC coating on the screws. That will definitely stand out quite a bit if it shows up to be silver because of a scratch, because I'm not being careful. So just wanted to note that. So, of course, taking off the pocket clip first just makes things a little bit easier. I would be doing this regardless, as I always swap out the stock Spyderco pocket clips, unless it's a deep carry wire clip, and even in that instance, I've been swapping them out lately. I'll have a video on that in the near future, actually. But that is going to be featuring a Torx T6. You can see right there to take off the pocket clip. Did want to note that. And then moving forward, I'm gonna start with these two screws right here on either side. Already got a little bit of dirt and grime on this G10 scale, but anyways, starting with the rear one, definitely was in there quite a bit. Now you're not going to be able to remove this back screw yet because this is going to be a pillar that spins. And moving on to the next one, get a better grip. There we go. And there we go. That one took a little bit of effort, relatively speaking. Those two screws are going to be a, let me see right there, T9, even though I believe they might be T8s. I don't know, to be honest with you. Obviously the T9 works. And then so stopped the video actually and went and grabbed my pliers, which I will be needing. They were out of reach. And then I also disassembled the pivot screw on this side and this side using a Torx T10. And then also to take out this particular screw right here. Now this one, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot take out yet because it will pivot. But what I typically will do is actually pull these scales apart when I do have the blade open, as you can see, and very gently lift the blade out as so, or as such, and you can see actually the phosphorus bronze washers did stay in place on either side there. We will be removing those, of course, but this is where the fun begins per se. And something that really helps with this is the sharp press knives. The tool, this is going to be specifically for the Paramilitary 2 and specifically for removing the lanyard tube. That thing is definitely not the easiest to do, and you don't want to break the scales or anything like that. So real quick, I do want to see if maybe I can tap those washers out, and they are not wanting to come out, so that's all right. And we'll go ahead and line this up. So you just put it in there and start screwing down. I'm gonna go ahead and move the blade actually out of the way in case anything falls. Just continue to tighten until it starts to pop off. You can see it's separating there. And there we go. So that's that side out. And you can see a little bit of dirt, but no damage or anything to the scale. There's the liner, of course. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that off to the side. And then what I personally do next is I'll actually grip this particular pivot, or pillar I should state, with these, struggling with my words here. I'm gonna grip this pillar with these here pliers and then try to unscrew that. Now, when I did this before, I used a paper towel so I didn't scratch that little pillar. Something else I'm gonna note, actually I'm gonna leave that washer on if it's gonna stay, just so I know. I'm gonna take this one off though, and this knife was perfectly centered, so I'm gonna try to keep these washers facing the right direction, or at least how they were before. As I stated, it was perfectly centered, so maybe I can keep it that way when I do reassemble the knife. But as I stated before, I'll typically grab this with a paper towel, and I just realized I'm out of the picture, out of the frame. And as I stated, I'll grab it, take my screwdriver, gently, this is gonna be the wrong one. Don't want to scratch that screw, as I stated. And this one, fortunately, broke very easily. And you can see there's that pillar. And my apologies if I have drifted out of the screen here. Have not noticed that. Been trying to, of course, focus on what I'm doing. And then the last step right here is going to be to remove this scale and the liner from the actual little lanyard tube. And I say remove it from the lanyard tube because honestly the lanyard tube is just its own piece. I mean, you have to have a special tool to do it easily, otherwise I don't know. I haven't tried it without, but I don't want to break the scales on any of these, and I know that it is quite a pain. I've tried to pull it apart by hand just gently on my other Spyderco with Bladeswelove scales. And there we go. There is that lanyard tube, and the scale is separate, so I can move on finally to the reassembly. Let me go ahead and unscrew this, get it out of the way. And then of course, there is your liner, and I'm gonna go ahead and again move this scale off to the side, and actually gonna clean my hands real quick because these scales are beautiful. And continuing on, wash my hands because these, as I stated, in my opinion at least, are very beautiful. They are going to be Bladeswelove anodized titanium scales, and there is the first side. That is just so cool. Really excited about this. Wow, that is awesome. And I'm gonna grab the other scale and take that out. And this one you can see I actually did not check, but I wonder if we could slide it out. And it's gonna be a no-go. Anyways, struggling to open the paper towel here. That is just fantastic. Probably not gonna edit that part out. May as well keep it in, right? And equally excited about the second side. There it is. This is so cool. Man, I'm just so happy with these. Look at that scale before I scratch it. And let's go ahead and get this thing started. So, of course, gonna lay that in, not as gently as I would like, but there we are. And the first step is gonna be, at least I personally just reassemble it exactly how I disassembled it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that pillar on with the screw to go, just go ahead and hold that scale in, and go ahead and insert that screw first. Make sure I'm gonna like that black hardware. I think I will. And looks like I've already, is that a little smudge from me? I guess it is. All right, That's so unfortunate.
And start to handle this.
Now, this one's going to be a little bit different for me because I bought this anodized backspacer, and hopefully I'll like how that looks in the back. I'm going to go ahead and probably test fit that real quick actually, just to make sure. I will indeed enjoy how that looks. I'll admit, not as much as I thought I would, but still going to proceed. So this, of course, does house the lanyard tube right there, and I'm going to go ahead and try to snap that lanyard tube in first. And there we go, starting to get that in there. Lining it up with the scale, I think, is the most difficult portion, but it's definitely going in. Not the easiest, but not the most difficult thing in the world. And there we are. So I'm going to go ahead and probably speed up the next portion of the video as I continue to reassemble it. And if you would like a little bit more detailed walkthrough, check out my other disassembly and reassembly video where I'm featuring the Bladeswelove American flag Spyderco. And you can see I got the other side on, a few hiccups along the way, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to snap this all together right here into that lanyard tube. That is definitely the part that I found to be the most challenging myself. There we go. So that has kind of snapped together. Pivot it a little and it's all snapped into the liners. Just got to drop the screws in on this side and keep going. Now for this portion, as the actual pivot in there spins, I'm going to get a second T8 Torx screw, and that is definitely going to assist me in reassembling this, which is grabbing that behind the scenes there. But what I personally do, because I am right-handed, is I'll line up the left side first, kind of as such, and then hold the knife, make sure it's all stabilized, and then tighten it down. And then what I'll go ahead and do, again, because I am a righty, is I'll actually flip this over and make sure that everything is pretty much as snug as I can make it back here without getting too carried away. And obviously this is probably not the best way to do it, as I've got this nice 20 CV blade pivoting on me, but not the safest way, but it's my way. There we are, removing the screws. Gonna go ahead and make sure that these ones up here are tight. I know that this one could definitely be tightened out more. I'll check this side. And as with the last video, or the last scale swap I should say, I did not do any Loctite on this. And I may or may not regret that, we'll see. And there's the finished product without the pocket clip. There's that liner, doesn't match necessarily, or backspacer, I mean, doesn't necessarily match, but for me, I actually really like it because you don't notice it here. I think it looks cool there, and then you don't notice it there, so that is fantastic. Of course, I'm gonna need to adjust the pivot more than likely. It does drop shut. Let's see. I may have, yeah, see, a little bit of rock. There we go, that's what I figured. Gonna go ahead and put the T8 back in, T10 back in. And this screw definitely could be tightened down, I think, a wee bit more. Pretty solid. Let me do maybe a little more and we'll see what happens. Solid. And drop shut. And my centering, not perfect, not horrible. I'm okay with it. That looks awesome. There we are. So let's go ahead and move on to the pocket clip now. Because this is me and I'm a Spyderco fanboy, I've got a couple of options that I, to be honest with you, had originally planned on buying the S110V Spyderco Paramilitary 2. So that's what I was going to put that backspacer on, or at least see how it looked. Then I was going to throw on this blue deep carry MXG gear pocket clip. Now, I think that looks really good against that blue titanium. However, I do also, because this is an all black blade and hardware, etc., have the black PVD coated deep carry MXG gear pocket clip. So just pulling that out right now, and that's where, yeah, thinking as good as this looks, if this was a satin blade, that's for sure what I would do, but I don't know. You're watching a decision-making process here, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video and edit in the final completed knife, and we'll see which pocket clip I end up choosing. And you can see I ended up going with the black to match everything else. I think that looks fantastic overall, but one thing that was very interesting is, for some reason, when I was going to put that third screw back in, you can see right there, it just was not cooperating, and it actually stripped the threads at the very end of the screw, and I've never had that happen before. So yep, very interesting. And if you've made it this far into the video, let me know, comment on this. I would be very curious. But otherwise, very pleased with the overall build of this Paramilitary 2 with these, again, Bladeswelove scales. And this is, of course, a knife joy exclusive with the 20 CV. Yeah, that is awesome. Very, very happy for sure. And just real quick, again, if you made it this far into the video, I'm gonna go ahead and show off this compared to the other Paramilitary 2 that I have Bladeswelove scales on. And here is that one. They are both very nice for sure, and both very different for sure. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below on which one of these two you like better, and just your thoughts overall on this video and this particular build right here. And as always, I really appreciate you watching.